welcome to Tuesday Folk People. My name is Maddie Leedham, and this evening we're going to be talking to the ukulele queen. Up-and-coming Middlesbrough-based artist Amelia Coburn. A former BBC Radio 2 Young Folk Award finalist, Amelia's distinctive voice is hugely recognisable and unique. Armed with her ukulele, Amelia performs her original songs, achieving international radio play and gracing the stages at Cambridge Folk Festival, the Czech Ukulele Festival, and the Grand Northern Ukulele Festival, as well as much, much more. I'm really excited to present Amelia Coburn this evening, an artist who I believe will be a future mainstay of the folk scene. So without further ado, let's welcome Amelia Coburn to our online studio. Hello, Amelia. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very much looking forward to this interview. Are you currently in Middlesbrough?
Yes, in my bedroom.
Very nice. I think you are the first artist that we've had on Tuesday Folk People from Middlesbrough, so it's very nice that we're branching out to other areas in the country and meeting people from elsewhere. Brilliant. So I think that we should have our first song so that people can really get a taste for what your music is about. And this first song is called When the Tide Rolls In. Before we hear it, can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, I wrote this song while I was living in Mexico. I studied languages at university a few years ago, French, Spanish and Russian, and part of that was going abroad. So I was studying at university in Mexico and I absolutely loved being there. It was the most beautiful country with beautiful people. But this song was actually written when I was visiting a really sleepy beach town, and long story cut short, on the way home there was just this really sinister man sat outside the Airbnb with a big grin on his face. Yeah. And I thought, well, I'm gonna have to write a song about that, because it just was a really sinister moment, but I kind of tied it in with being by the seaside, and it was just, I had a lot of inspiration while I was in Mexico from weird things that happen, people you meet, things that you see, and that's essentially what the song is about.
Bathe in the billows where the waters surge. You'll be waiting by my side in the morning. Wade through the swells of currents, wave salute. You'll be waiting by my side when he comes. But we will try to save our skins from ear to ear, my dear. He grins a grin so viciously it trickles down his chin. His hands cut red, they're cut like rubies flaunted on a ring. But he'll be gone, I promise you, when the tide rolls in. Hide in the lazy shadows, sun can't stretch. You'll be waiting by my side in the morning. Sail in the gloaming as a breeze rocks the boats. You'll be waiting by my side when he comes. But we will try to soothe our sins. But soon I see on the wall a Cheshire cat, shrewdly on the prowl. A tremble through my temples, yet nothing but a howl slips from his lips. He's sinking ships when the tide rolls in. No lamp lights, no passers-by. Key turns twice, waiting for the morning to arrive. Rest on a rickety pole that ruffles to shore. You'll be waiting by my side in the morning. Stand on the sand track by the undertow. You'll be waiting by my side when he comes. But we will try to let begin. But don't forget that in the gloom behind the veil the unknown rests in peace, and in the thickness of the night the stories from the streets will stir the stupor of the man when the tide rolls in.
So your music, as well as being part of the folk genre, it's seen to kind of cross boundaries and fall into other types of musical genres. What genres do you tend to have influence your music, and why those particular genres?
Yeah, so I was raised on a wide variety of music genres and records and albums. So when I was younger, my dad, he used to rock me to sleep to punk rock music sometimes, like The Clash, the Sex Pistols, or 70s pop like Kate Bush and Elton John, but also used to put Classic FM on the way to school, and he used to take me to musicals, and I performed in like musical theatre as a kid. It's like Roger and Hammerstein musicals, and jazz as well links to it. Tin Pan Alley songwriters like Irving Berlin and Cole Porter. So yeah, that variety really fed into the way I write, and I like to try and link bits of jazz or bits of pop or folk into the songs. It's the songs that I listen to, so it's when I write, I try and emulate that, but put it all together, I suppose.
Do you find that having such like a wide range of genres in your music, it's like a benefit, or is it sometimes a bit of a hindrance when you're trying to perform or book live gigs and that sort of thing?
I think it can be both. I think it's really nice to be different and not just sound like, you can spread your wings and do a bit of everything. You can play at a folk event, but you could also play at something a bit more alternative. But at the same time, it does sometimes hinder you when, I don't know, you submit your song to maybe get played on the radio, but then you think, well, it's not quite alternative enough to be on this station, but it's not quite traditional enough to be at festivals, so you have to try and, but I think there's been a lot of successful artists that do blur the line between genres, and they've
Mhm.
marked out their own path and they've created a genre through that. So I think that's something that, it can be difficult, but I think you've just got to persevere with it, and if people like it, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's almost like for each gig, you have to choose the repertoire that's the most folky or the most jazzy or whatever fits the environment best, and just become like a bit of a chameleon, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So if I play a folk festival, I'll definitely play songs that, are more influenced by folk. But then if I'm doing maybe something, I don't know, in a pub where you've got a real mixture of people of different musical tastes, you could throw in a few covers or some songs that are bit more punky, a bit more alternative indie sound. So you can just read, yeah, like kind of adapt to what audience you have.
You're definitely more of like a songwriter within the folk genre than someone who arranges and performs traditional music. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right. The folk music that I listen to, I listen to, if I listen to folk music, it would be like Joni Mitchell, John Byers, Bob Dylan. So within that, you do hear traditional music, but it's something that I'd like to maybe do in the future. But I don't really know much about the traditional side of folk. It's a lot more the contemporary songwriting that I listen to. But I think somewhere down the line, it would be nice to try some trad stuff.
Yeah. I think that's just what's great about folk, though, is that you can have the trad side of it, but you can have like the singer-songwriter side of it. And all of it appeals to different people and the same people, but like it just brings so many new people in. So I just think that that's one of my favorite things about it. Anyway, I want to now talk about something else that's quite unique with you as a performer, and that is your use of instruments. So, have I got this right that you've always been a singer?
And yeah, I've always sang. I wouldn't call myself a singer when I was younger. I was probably quite an annoying little kid, just screaming in the Tesco's trying to get spotted by Simon Cowell. Yeah, I've always, I think I was singing before I spoke, but never played an instrument until more recently.
And yeah, I was going to say, how did that happen then? Because you play the ukulele, which is quite an unusual instrument in the folk world. From my perspective, I might have just quite a naive perspective to the whole thing, and you are very much in there. But yeah, how did the ukulele happen for you?
I think I was singing in the local cafe that I worked at, and I was using backing tracks, and I was getting a bit fed up of having the CDs, and I wanted to be able to accompany myself. And I really, really, I say I'm not musical. I love music, but playing an instrument I'd never really done before, apart from the recorder. So I saw a friend with a ukulele, and they told me it was really easy, and you could get them for £20. So I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? And I begged for one for Christmas when I was about 15. And I got a little plastic pink ukulele and locked myself in my room for a few weeks and came out playing, quite bad covers of songs. And that's where it began. Is I thought, oh, I can like write songs now. I've got that instrument. I've got a way of expressing myself, not just through singing but through playing.
And why the ukulele? Was it just because it was an accessible instrument?
I think so. I thought maybe about guitar, and then I'd practice on a few friends, and my hands are quite small, and I just couldn't get my head around all the strings. Same with piano. I think maybe if I had lessons when I was younger, I might have been okay, but I was like already 16 at this point and wanted something that was, like quite cheap and fairly user friendly. And then if I thought, okay, I'm good at this, I could try something else. But I just really enjoyed the ukulele. I think it's so versatile, and it can really subvert people's expectations when you play a folk song on a ukulele. People don't expect it, and I think that's quite nice.
Yeah, 100%. And did it take quite a lot of work to get to where you are now? Considering you started so late, you are very much a proficient musician on the ukulele. And was that quite a lot of
Thank
hard
you.
work to get to where you are now?
Yeah, but it didn't feel like hard work because I enjoyed it, I suppose. I was just like a lot of people when they learn an instrument. I just found some songs that I liked, learnt the basic chords. Once I got them, did a few more of the jazzy or advanced ones. And that's just how I learned it, because I can't read music. It was just finding a song and trying to work it out either through my head or finding a YouTube tutorial, stuff like that, and working out where your fingers
Yeah.
go and how you strum it. And it did come quite natural to me, because I guess, I loved music growing up, so I had the rhythm. But I've been playing now for what, gosh, just under 10 years. So I suppose it has, when you look back at the videos when I first started playing ukulele, it was really quite bad.
I think it's really inspiring though, because a lot of people get told that to learn an instrument, you have to learn it young to be like really good at it. But I think that you started late teens or mid teens, which is like at the point when your brain isn't quite a sponge anymore. And so it takes a lot more work, but you've done it. And I hope that inspires some people to maybe pick an instrument up and actually just start at whatever age they are. It's never too late. Um, but what I wanted to now explore is how the ukulele is received in like the folk world. So when you bring it to like a folk club or a folk festival, how do people react to it?
Yeah, actually, nowadays I do think that the ukulele is more well received. I think because because a lot of the folk kind of music listeners, they actually play it themselves, because it's like, it's, if they never played an instrument before, it is a bit more accessible than a guitar, for example, and it's a nice stepping
Yeah.
stone before you try some different instrument. But there have been times where people instantly get an impression because they see me with a ukulele and they think, oh, she's, I don't know why there is that perception of a ukulele. I don't know where it comes from. People just assume, but that's what I quite like, is saying, well, listen first, and then you might actually change your mind, because the ukulele doesn't have to sound like a twangy instrument. You can make it sound like a harp, or you could make it sound like a guitar. I've got a baritone ukulele which I got recently, and it's a bit bigger, but it has a richer sound, and I think that can sound really beautiful. So it depends how it's received. And fair enough, some instruments I really don't like, and I might sometimes think, oh gosh, not this. But I think you just got to listen first, and then hopefully people think, actually, I've changed my mind.
Yeah. But there's a whole ukulele scene out there, isn't there? Like there's things going on, festivals and stuff. Can you tell us about some of your experiences you've had on that scene, where you've been, who you've met, and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, I had no idea there was such a huge ukulele scene. I had been playing a few years at this point, and I think we just stumbled across on Facebook the Grand Northern Ukulele Festival in Huddersfield, and I got a 10-minute slot on the sort of introducing stage. And we got there, and I couldn't believe everyone there had different ukuleles of all shapes and sizes. The people on stage, there was a duo called Opera Lely singing opera on a ukulele. There was a Swedish heavy metal style ukulele band. It was absolutely, it was so eye opening, and everyone was lovely. It was like a folk festival, but with thousands of ukuleles. Great people, and that was my stepping stone into the ukulele scene, as it were. And I've been at. It's helped me travel the world. I've done Berlin Ukulele Festival, one in Prague. I've got a few booked in for the summer. Fingers crossed they go ahead in Europe. So I guess it's transcends borders, because we all have this mutual love of the ukulele. It doesn't matter where you're from. Everyone comes together and sings, and it's really nice.
It sounds amazing. Sounds like something that I definitely want to sort of dip my toe in and see what's going on, because I have absolutely no idea that things like that were out there, and I think that that's really good. And actually, Homestage hosts a ukulele club, and I'm sure that we have quite a few people in that club who'd be interested to know this, if they don't already. I imagine they do. But also, yeah, if anyone's watching this and is inspired to play the ukulele, just check out the club and they can give a go. Anyway, so you have another instrument that you play, and that we've got in the next song. Before you tell us about Perfect Storm, our next song, can you tell us what instrument you play and what it is?
It's a stick dulcimer, so I believe it's based off the sort of traditional Appalachian dulcimer, and I went to go. It was my birthday the other year, and I wanted to get a banjolele or something a bit different to mix things up on stage. And I saw it on the wall, and I said, "Oh, what is this? Can I give it a go?" And I don't know what the word is. There'll be people watching this who are, you know, musical and will know the word. I think is it diatonic, where all basically the only way I can describe it is whatever note you play, it sounds nice on this instrument, the way it's tuned. So I was just messing around. I was like, I need this. So it's called a stick dulcimer, and it's a mixture between a dulcimer, ukulele, kind of sounds a bit like a banjo or a sitar, and I love it. It's really fun to play. So if anyone is watching and hasn't got one, then definitely get one.
Yeah, well, we're going to hear it, as I said, in Perfect Storm. So let's hear Perfect Storm. But before we do, what is Perfect Storm and what's it about?
I wrote it in, I think it was the first lockdown when I was really struggling for creative ideas. And most of my songs are about something. And Perfect Storm was probably the only song that really, I don't think, was about anything. But I mean, there could have been a subconscious agenda at play while I was writing, but it was just purely stream of consciousness, just writing down lyrics and thinking that sounds quite nice, and put it into this tune that had been going around in my head on the dulcimer. And that's what Perfect Storm is about.
Beacons light ablaze, send signals to the east, lets the soil kiss my feet and I let go. Throw caution to the wind to blow away my sins, and God's wings will shield and guide me. Empty words are like a bird's flight of fantasy. Their wings lay cold on the ground. Come rain or shine, I know we'll be fine. But oh, how it rains over England. It's a perfect storm. Gave my body to the earth, I lent my My spirit shakes through every lake and mountain. Emerald April days, I watched clouds that looked like butter that were spread across the skies and melting in the sun. Open minds, open hearts, but my eyes are closed, and wings cannot lift me from the ground. Come rain or shine, I'm your friend and you're mine. But oh, how it rains over England like a perfect storm. So we chose to draw the line, but where does it end? Will my paper and ink run dry? I don't want to leave, I don't want to forget, I don't want our story to end. Empty words are like a bird's flight of fantasy. Empty words are like a bird's flight of fantasy, like a perfect storm. A perfect storm.
As we have, or you briefly mentioned before, you are a linguist, studied it at university. Can you just remind us what languages you speak?
I speak French, Spanish. I technically speak Russian, but it's been a long time, so my Russian's not as good as it used to be, and I speak a bit of Serbian and English.
Oh my God, so many, it's insane. And have you done, well, you said you've been to Mexico, obviously, because When the Tide Rolls In was inspired by that. Have you done much other traveling with it?
With my languages,
Yeah, like with your linguistic studies, all that sort of stuff. Have you been around the world much?
yeah, I was lucky that when I was studying, it was before COVID hit. So I worked in Paris for about 6 months, and then after I got back from Mexico, I went to St. Petersburg in Russia, which was yeah, a weird and wonderful experience. And I'd love to go back traveling once things are settled down a bit more. I really love meeting new people and speaking different languages. And yeah, and the good thing about music is, and this like the ukulele festivals, for example, you do get to travel and use your music as an excuse to go to new places.
Yeah. And did you do much performing while you were traveling around?
Not so much in Mexico, and I didn't take my ukulele to Russia because I think it needed a visa. But when I was in Paris, I supported the indie band, The Wedding Present, in I can't remember what the venue is called now, and did a few ukulele festivals. But I was trying to just write more while I was away. It was settling down for. It was hard because I'd been building up on music back in the UK, and then I took a year out to do all these travels and work abroad or study abroad, and it was hard to keep going with the music. So I just tried to write more, and it was definitely helpful. Finding my creative juices were definitely flowing every day when I was there.
Yeah. All the influences that other cultures and other countries bring, just flooding you. It sounds amazing. Did you have a favorite country that you went to?
Oh, I think Mexico was my favorite just because the people there, the friendliest people I've ever met. The food, oh, the food was so nice, and the landscape is beautiful. It's got everything from lakes to volcanoes. I had a balcony, and when it looked across Popocatépetl, the volcano, and you see ash erupting from it on an evening. It was just amazing. I'd never really been outside of Europe before, so that was just really awe-inspiring. But I did like living in Paris. That was it was quite I don't think I'd ever get that opportunity again. And I loved just, there was so much going on, a bit like London. It was just very, it was fun.
Did you ever write any songs using the languages that you've learned? So any songs in French, Spanish, or Russian?
I wrote a song called Dans le Noir in French. It's inspired by Django Reinhardt style. Yeah, that gypsy jazz guitar sound. I love that. So it was a bit of a rip off basically. And I played it, and then I didn't. I think I went off it because I played it at a ukulele festival in France, and afterwards the French people. I did the whole gig in French, which I was really proud of, and I thought, oh, that's a perfect song to play. It's in French, but at the end, some people came up to me and said, "Oh, that French song you played, it was so funny," but it wasn't really meant to be a funny song. It was quite a serious one about how I loved walking around at night in Paris and the beautiful kind of lights. And they were like, "Oh, it's hilarious, that song." And I thought, either my French is really bad or I've said something in that song that didn't make any sense to them, something. But I played a gig back in Stockton, near where I live, at Christmas, and I asked the audience if anyone spoke French, and we had a few, but I don't think anyone actually did. So I played it there with a band and a double bass and a guitar and keyboard, and I kind of went off the song, but playing it with the band, and knowing there was no one fluent French in the audience, I fell back in love with the song again. But maybe I'll need to consult someone who's French about the lyrics and say, do these make sense? Or are these just like lost in translation a bit?
I think it's very brave, though, to do that. I speak a tiny bit of French, but I would not even attempt, just because I just would like, it would be probably extremely insulting, and I'm trying to write a love song, but I'm saying all these insults or something without knowing.
I think that's what I did.
I'm definitely, yeah, it turns out you're actually just cracking up some really comedic lines instead of what you wanted.
Yeah.
But let's explore a bit more about your songwriting. So obviously that whole language songwriting is a tiny part, but you've done so much more. And one thing that I found absolutely incredible when you told me before was the fact that you can't read music, yet you're able to write the songs that you're writing now without that kind of musical knowledge. How do you do it?
I don't know. I think when you try and dissect it and actually think about it, you think, "Oh, what do I do?" But it's just something that sounds nice, and you know, when you hear it, sometimes if I listen to like classical music or a piece of musical theatre, and like you get that sort of like tingle, shiver up your spine, and I think it's when certain chord changes or certain tunes sound like a bit unexpected or nice. And I think I try and do that when I'm writing. I think, oh, what melody would sound good with that chord, and not think about it in terms of theory, but just how if it sounds nice, or if it sounds creepy, or if it sounds just how I perceive it to be. Sorry, I'm probably that's a really long convoluted way of saying I just play how I like it to sound.
So I'm genuinely curious, how does it actually work for you to write a song if you're not going by musical rules and things?
I think I usually start when I'm writing a song by playing a chord sequence that sounds quite nice, and sometimes when I'm struggling to find a chord that I like, I'll just detune the uke to something really weird or random, and then put my finger on the fret and see how it sounds. I go, oh, that sounds really good, and I would never have got that those notes together if I hadn't detuned the uke. So sometimes it's really difficult when I've written a song in a completely random tuning and then try and like tell someone who wants to play on the song, oh, this is. They ask me what the chords are, and I think, oh, I don't actually know. It's just they're not really chords; they're just sounds. So I think when I'm writing, I just tend to get the basic chord structure, whether that be just regular ones or weird ones, and then try and get a melody over that. But it would be nice to know more about the theory behind things. I'd love to know about harmony, 'cause I think there's some jazz songs or classical songs that do, when they use that harmony, it's and they know what they're doing with it, it can sound amazing. And I'd love to teach myself it one day. But yeah, I think the lyrics always come last. It's about the music and just fiddling around. And sometimes I think the best time to write is when you've got a new instrument or it's something fresh. So someone hands you it's when I got that dulcimer and I wrote Perfect Storm. I think I wrote it straight away because I was like, oh, this is new. I can think of new things. And it's like I can't describe it, but I don't know if when you've written songs, it's when you've like been given a new instrument, or you've detuned the ukulele or the guitar or whatever to something new, it sparks more ideas. That's just me anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree. Definitely something fresh just makes you just suddenly just want to create again. But what kind of subjects do you tend to explore? We've seen obviously 2 songs already, so we've got a bit of an idea. But how would you, or what would you say are your inspirations for your songwriting?
I like Actually, initially when I started writing, it was a lot of storytelling. So the first song I ever wrote was called "Song of the Sea Rover," and that was the story of an evil pirate that I had a dream about, or a nightmare, um, and that it was just a really simple morality tale. Then, as the years have gone on, I still like to tell stories. So, I guess with when the tide rolls in, that was slightly storytelling, if you can call it that. But recently, I've started writing a few more personal things. I suppose because we have been, locked down for 2 years. I haven't really got anything to tell. I know I could tell other people's stories, but when I was trying to write, it just seemed more natural for me to do more personal writing. So I touch on a variety of subjects, but a lot of it does stem from traveling, people, places, and more recently, um, I'd say, yeah, more kind of feelings, but not that. Yeah, like personal things that have happened, or things I just want to get off my chest.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, let's have another taste of your songwriting. Lovely transition there. And let's go for your third song, which is such a beautiful song. It's Please Go Gently. Can you tell us what this song is about?
So that's an example of one of the more personal tracks that I wrote in the last year, and I wrote it when my granddad he was really old and he was about to pass away, and there's a Dylan Thomas poem called, I think it's called "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night," where he tells his father not to die, and it was taking that sentiment but in the opposite way, saying when you're ready to let a loved one go even though you don't want to, and you sort of admitting to yourself that it's the right time, if that makes any sense. And it was just a goodbye song for my granddad, and that was one of the most personal songs I've written. But I really like it, and it always makes my mum cry when I play it at the gig and she's there. But yeah, that's what Please Go Gently was inspired by.
By the time you're reading this, I hope you feel no pain. Relief is found in silver-lined clouds to wash over you like rain. Go to sleep, count the stars, cradled in my arms. But by the time you're reading this, you're probably far from home. You killed 2 birds and fought their flight with nothing but a stone. I'll carry the reminder, and I'll carry you home if you let go all the burdens you have ever known. They found peace now, as have you. Please go gently into that night. At the time of writing this, you've fallen at your feet. But in our pride, this lion heart shall not admit defeat. At first blush of March's moon, Spring was in your step, but at the time of writing this, Father Time has failed you. Though fire burns on, we all know glowing embers die and fade too. There are too many words wrapped round my tongue, but you hear the music to your ears. My heart has sung all for you, my love. Now it's goodbye. Please go gently into that night. Go gently into that night.
Please Go Gently, that's quite a recent release, isn't it? When did that come out?
That came out on the 4th of March, and it's the lead single off an EP that will be coming out at the start of April.
Oh, amazing. And so can you tell us a bit more about this EP? Because I was wanting to ask, what is the EP about? Are there any sort of themes and stuff that you can explore throughout the EP?
The EP is quite special to me because it's the first EP or like set of songs that I've released that have been completely solely original material, because in the past I've always had original songs mixed with cover songs. So I'm really excited to finally have my own body of work that is completely, by me. And also it's the themes in the EP that can be heard are the sort of touch upon age and mortality and just general sort of ups and downs and the ebb and flow of life and death. If I've summed that up, I guess just listen, and those are sorts of themes that will be in the songs.
Yeah, if you want to find out everything about it, you're going to have to listen in April, and you can hear that for yourselves. Amazing. So if someone wanted to listen to that, would they find it on your website?
Yes, I'll be releasing it digitally, so that can be found on Spotify and all that. But I'll also be selling some CDs on my Bandcamp. But if you Googled Amelia Coburn, I'm sure that something will pop up on Bandcamp or my website or Facebook or whatever. There'll be a way to find it.
Yeah. Amazing. How exciting. I always love it when someone's got some new release out there, because it's just so nice to know there's going to be new music in the world. And well, congratulations as well on it being all your own music. That's huge. It's really big. So
Thank you.
right, I wanted to now explore the something that is also really exciting that happened to you in the past, and that was when you were nominated for a BBC Radio 2 Folk Award. Not many people can say that that's happened to them, and especially one as young as you. You've got something so good there. How did that happen? What was the circumstances around it?
I just started at university, and I had heard some adverts on on Radio 2 looking for applicants for the Young Folk Award, and I'd only written one song at this point. But prior to this, I wouldn't even consider myself a folk musician. But the song that I wrote, "Song of the Sea Rover," was a folk song essentially. It was inspired by Joni Mitchell, and it told a story. So my manager Andy, sent me a screenshot and said, "Oh, shall we enter you for this?" And I was like, I think I was just eating breakfast, and I was like, yeah, whatever, because I was like, I'm obviously not going to get that, but it can't hurt to try, So I forgot that we even entered, and then it was a few months later that we got the email saying, "Oh, congratulations, there was a selection process where there was some semi-finalists. I think there was, I can't remember now, but maybe about 15 of us or 12. And we went to Kendal and had a weekend of workshops with Nancy Kerr and James Fagan, which was incredible. And then we all performed on the Saturday night, and then that's when the finalists or the nominees were chosen, and it got announced on the radio a few months later. So I think it was a really it it was a really brilliant experience for me at the time, because I had never even considered myself as a musician. I'd just written some songs and I'd performed at pubs and parties, but I'd never really thought, oh, I could be up for an award for doing what I did, or I could be considered by like Mark Radcliffe on the radio as someone who's, up against these really amazing musicians. So it was a good confidence boost, I think, and it was great for my career in terms of meeting people, and it got me. I think the winner of the Young Folk Award got to perform on Cambridge Folk Festival, but the book promoters or the booking agents from Cambridge saw me and said, "We don't care if you don't win. Like, we want you to play anyway." So opportunities like that I never dreamed of having. I was absolutely over the moon just to even be selected in the first place. So yeah, I loved it.
Would you say then that it was quite an important scheme or a thing for you to do that kind of really got a good foundation for your career and fast tracked you along a bit?
Absolutely. It was just meeting the people we did, like Nancy Kerr and Mark Radcliffe, those contacts and they do stay in touch. Like I met up again I'm part of the English Folk Expo mentoring scheme this year, and we had a session with Nancy Kerr, and I said, oh, we met a few years ago, and she said, yeah, I remember, like, and it was really nice just being able to have these contacts in the music industry, especially because I'm not technically, very traditionally folky. It's could be quite daunting sometimes not knowing anyone or anything about the industry. So it was good in that aspect, and just I think probably a confidence boost. And it was hard because I was at uni to really capitalize on that. I didn't really do any proper gigging until I'd left last 2 years ago. But I'm trying to pick up from where I was and write more and do more things. But I think it was such an important thing for me as a young musician, and I'm really glad. I can't remember if they had it recently because of COVID and stuff. I'm not sure what's happening at the moment, but it's a great scheme, if that's what you can call it. It's so important.
Yeah. Oh, and you just mentioned the English Folk Expo, and that was something that I wanted to talk about, the mentoring program that you're a part of. Have you begun that already?
Yeah, that began in October and it runs for a year until this October. And we've only been in it for a couple of months, but I'm learning so much. My mentor is fantastic, and the team at the English Folk Expo, all of them are so knowledgeable, and so they always want to help you. So already we just had opportunities, shown our way, and tips. And it's nice having that backing from such a prestigious body in the folk industry that they think, okay, these artists are good, we're going to mentor them. That it's like that stamp of approval from a pretty good organization, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. Are we allowed to know who your mentor is, or is that supposed to be a secret?
I think so. I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't sure. That's why I didn't mention it first. But I don't see why not. So I'm being mentored by Barney Jevons. He's from Kick Arts Consultancy. He manages artists like Hannah James, and there's quite a few people. There's not just folky. When I got into the process, I said I want a mentor who knows the folk industry, but they also have their hands in other pockets of music industries, because I'm like we said,
Yeah.
I'm not just folk music. So Barney's brilliant, and he's been helping me with the EP release, and just help me generally get my sort of life together, because when as a musician sometimes you can't, it's hard to plan things. Things are up in the air and you work for yourself, so you really need to have some focus in your life, and it's really nice having someone there to help you alongside that.
Definitely. And it's so reassuring speaking to you and hearing that there are all these schemes for young musicians to support them and to get them out there, and just to see how much it's helped you, and that can be the case for other musicians. So I hope that if any young musicians are watching, they know that they're not alone trying to get into the folk world. there is support out there for them. Incredible. Right. So we are running out of time, unfortunately. This is always the worst bit, when I have to say that we've got to end soon. But before we do go to our last song, I just want to explore more about what you've got coming up in the future. So obviously we've talked about the English Folk Expo mentoring program, and we've talked about your new EP. Is there anything else that's going on in your musical life?
So I'm going on tour throughout March and the start of April. I'll be playing some places I've played before, but also some new cities like Brighton and London, Leeds. I'm really excited to get out and play again and do real life gigs. I think it's going to be so fun. So yeah, the details for all that are on my website and my pages. And maybe, I'll meet some new people or see some familiar faces. And that's what's coming up in the next few weeks.
Brilliant. And I hope there's more travelling in the future as well, because I don't want your languages to go to waste, because that's just the most amazing skill ever. So hopefully that will be there
fingers
too.
crossed I can. Yes, I don't want to what's the word, sort of speak too soon, but I have like some maybe European things coming up, but because of Brexit and COVID, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm doing this, because you never know. But I can't wait to go travelling again.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Amelia. Right, so we have got to go to your last song now. I mean, we're in for a treat. It's Dublin Serenade. It's a brilliant, brilliant song. But before you tell us about it, I just want to say a huge thank you for joining us for this Tuesday Folk People session. It's been very lovely, so thank you for that.
Dublin Serenade was it was written when I spent 24 hours in Ireland's capital, and as a broke student I got there at 7 a.m, and the flight was 7 a.m. the next day, but didn't have any money to pay for a hotel or a hostel, so it entailed walking around for the whole 24 hours, which was fine until it hit 3 a.m. and it was November and it was a Thursday and there wasn't much left open, so fell asleep in McDonald's, which wasn't my proudest moment. But the song is essentially about wandering the streets of this fantastic city at night and trying to stay awake, and it's an ode to one of my favourite places and the music there and the people.
Daybreak and we're greeted by an impish old chap. He tells us there's a bar here, puts Dublin on the map. Tiptoe to the basement, there's Irish crack galore. A certain kind of magic behind the cellar door. Prowling down the alleys, the night is so sweet. The city's got rhythm, I can feel it in my feet. Pass upon the cellar where the Guinness goes quite cheap. The door is ajar, the city asleep. Let the midnight glow enfold you. Let it take your arms and hold you, and lay your sleepy head against the sky. He's a man who sings so gently. Behind our pines we gaze intently, enchanted by a Dublin serenade. Cynical and tipsy, our expectations low, but the warmth is so inviting and we've nowhere else to go. I hear a voice a-calling like a siren from the bay, charming and bewitching me by a melody he plays. Everybody's silent, they listen to the man delicately plucking, and I'm instantly a fan. A sentimental tune that feels so close to me, reminiscent of the records I've loved so tenderly. Let the midnight glow enfold you. Let it take your arms and hold you, and lay your sleepy head against the sky. He's a man who sings so gently. Behind our pines we gaze intently, enchanted by a Dublin serenade. As darkness casts her shadow, the gentleman casts his spell. Candles flicker, but you're out like a light. So tonight, I think you should let the midnight glow enfold you. Let it take your arms and hold you, and lay your sleepy head against the sky. He's a man who sings so gently. Behind our pines we gaze intently, enchanted by a Dublin serenade.
Thank you very much for watching. To find out more information about our future Tuesday Folk People sessions, please sign up to our mailing list or keep an eye on our social media and website. Our next session will be a week from today at 8 p.m. See you then.